we are celebrating National Victims' Rights Week from April 18th, 2021 to April 24th, 2021. This show is dedicated to all victims and family members affected by crime. I want to focus today on the LGBTQIA plus community and particularly transgender women of color that is vulnerable to acts of violence. My guests today are Celena Morrison, the Executive Director of the LGBTQ Affairs for the City of Philadelphia, and Kelly Burkhardt, the LGBTQ plus Victim Witness Coordinator for the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. Welcome to the show, Celena and Kelly. Celena, tell me what services your office provides.
Well, the Office of LGBT Affairs isn't really a service provider. The office supports the growth and development of the city's LGBTQ communities and serves as sort of a liaison between the area's LGBTQ communities and the city. In the situation like we are discussing today, the office then is a liaison between the victims and resources, meaning helping connect the victims to resources.
Okay. And Kelly, please tell me what services the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office provides specific to the LGBTQIA plus community.
Sure. I mean, outside of the normal, I shouldn't say normal because it's, dealing with victims of crime and witnesses, but, outside of the typical, like providing case information, language assistance, accompaniment to court, I personally accompany if either myself or we try to get someone to make sure there's an LGBTQ representative that accompanies folks in court. But specifically, we actually have started to, we created it's called the LGBTQ arrest identification spreadsheet. And this is specific to where it's pinpointing cases that are coming through the police reports. So we're being notified within 24 hours of a crime that has happened to an LGBTQ person, or if there's an LGBTQ person that was the person the offender. So that's one thing to which we can start to identify these things a lot sooner than before. It was when someone would only tell me what was going on, or tell one of the other coordinators who then filtered it through to me. Now I am the LGBTQ plus representative for the office, the LGBTQ liaison for victim for victim services, but I'm also working a lot with the ADAs and talking to them just about it. Like I said, if someone's a defendant, like helping them with making sure they're aware of sort of what a lot of folks, what a lot of marginalized communities go through, particularly LGBTQ folks, as offering resources and programs that they can go to, and then also on the side of the witness and the victim, it's providing like also like what Celena was talking about, providing resources like Mazzoni Center, letting them know who to contact for peer counseling at William Way LGBT Community Center. If they're Latinx and live in sort of the Kensington area, and they're of a certain age, they may want to connect with Galay. But then also really getting folks, like if someone's a victim of domestic violence, getting them to a program that is specific for LGBTQ folks or for queer youth who have experienced extreme trauma or loss, Uplift Center of Grieving Children. So we're able to directly refer people. And I think that was never something that was provided before for LGBTQ folks. So it's like by identifying them, now we're getting more and more people the services and the help and the support that they need.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful. Why are people of the LGBTQIA community targeted? From the research I've done, transgender people are targeted at a higher rate. Celena, can you please explain a little bit about that?
I believe it's a number of reasons, but overall, as the country becomes more accepting, some become more radical. As the majority of society becomes more tolerant of LGBTQ people, some of those who are opposed to them become more radical. They may feel that, the way they see the world is threatened, and that motivates their violence. Now, in the case of trans people, I think it's very differently. It's very different. And I could go on and on. But I believe it's partially due to a lot of today's anti-trans rhetoric that looks a lot like that old-fashioned homophobia that we, just like old school homophobia, transphobia often rests on the prejudices that the worthiest form of sexuality is that is which is capable of reproduction. Look at the rise in anti-trans radical feminists. These harmful messages about the validity of transgender identity have no place in mainstream media, because these things contribute to the stigma around trans identities, and I think that is a huge issue.
Okay. Celena, in your opinion, why are crimes within the LGBTQIA plus community not as publicized as other crimes?
Violent crimes and the other hate incidents against LGBTQIA plus communities are consistently not reported and not reported and prosecuted because of chronic distrust between the LGBTQ community and the police. Of course, here in Philly, we've recently seen more local coverage of these types of crimes. Typically, little is ever reported about hate crimes against LGBTQ plus people, especially LGBTQ people of color, and how issues of race, gender identity, and sexual orientation trigger the type of violence against them. Nor are the reasons for the silence around such violence, ever explored.
Right.
Untold numbers of hate crimes against LGBTQ people of color go unreported in mainstream papers, and often rarely seen in queer ones as well. So.
And also, if I could just piggyback off of that, there a lot of these folks are then misgendered. A lot of these incorrect information is given. Even just the most recent attack, the stabbing that occurred several weeks ago, one place reported that the incident happened at the victim's location instead of it being where it was happening. So just to, like I said, just to piggyback off like that rhetoric that's out there, that horrible rhetoric, and also lawmakers are trying to like that's a whole nother spectrum. It's like lawmakers, there's a lawmaker Republican from Philadelphia that is trying to introduce a bill in Pennsylvania House of Senate that would not allow girls that are trans, identify as trans girls, are not allowed to play in sports, because they feel it's an unfair advantage. I mean, it just blows my mind. So you have this like rhetoric that's out there that's also fueling a lot of this. That's why it's really important for Celena's office to make sure that people are contacting her when something is happening to get that message out properly.
Kelly, what should first responders know and other community members know when they are providing services to make sure we continue to show dignity and respect throughout the process for those of the LGBTQIA plus community?
I mean, just the first and foremost is simply just asking someone how they want to identify. And I know that maybe I've had a lot of conversations recently with a lot of attorneys in the office that have said to me, hey, I don't want to misgender someone. I don't want to use pronouns incorrectly. How do I go about doing this? To be respectful. And I just simply say, when I meet a new person and I'm not sure how they want to identify, I say, hey, my pronouns are she, her, hers. How would you like to be identified? Or how would you like to be referred to? What are your pronouns? And you will see almost immediately how people are, especially if you are a first responder and you're trying to get that information from them, just, that by asking someone what their pronouns are, that immediately just shows that you kind of get it. You understand that you're being respectful of who this person is. Another thing to say is just simply just listen and validate victims. It's not just about the crime, but also about their life, like their lived experience, their living experience. If you see someone that is not dressed at what folks traditionally see as, I'll just use myself for example. I'm wearing a suit jacket, I'm wearing a button-down shirt, I have short hair, I identify as a woman. It's something that I've gone through my entire life, just being a lesbian. Gosh, it's very loud where I live today. I apologize for all that. So it's just like, these are just small little things that you can do. Also, just another thing is to just, getting competency trainings, getting LGBTQ competency trainings, just so you do start to feel more comfortable. Because, while people haven't traditionally reported crimes in the past, they are starting to now, because people are fed up. They're fed up of being attacked and fed up of being victims.
Kelly, have you identified why some members of the LGBTQIA community are reluctant to report their crime or to go to court to testify?
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple different reasons. I mean, first of all, historically, the LGBTQIA communities, and that's, we really should break that down. It's like, it's queer folks, it's people of color within the communities, trans folks, gay, lesbian. We've all, at some point in time, have been discriminated against, criminalized for our very existence. Laws started way back in the 1950s where we were told that we're deviants, we are predators, and that's just simply not true. So I do have some really good experiences, though, a lot of great experiences. And I think that's the important thing to talk about is that people are more and more standing up for who they are. Like there was a witness that came out literally in court when the defense attorney asked him, why didn't you go to the police ahead of time? And the reason why is because he was very afraid that he was going to be shamed. He wasn't out yet to his family or friends. And so he was like, really worried, like, is this going to get in the paper? Is this going to get on social media? But more and more as he thought about it, like, hey, if I don't stand up for who I am, or for the person he was witness in a horrible attack of a gay man, he came out in the stand, and the defense attorney, when he asked him, why didn't you, give an interview before? You did this stretch of like 3 months, and he was like, simply, I wasn't out, and I am now. And that literally just shut the whole thing down. So it's like, that's what I was talking about before, like listening, validating, people's experiences. The other really strong one I'd like to talk about is like, there was a case, Commonwealth versus Matthew White a couple of years ago, where Matthew White would rob trans women. He would seek them out. And then at one time he ended up killing the boyfriend of one of them. And all 4 of them actually worked with the police, because they knew that if they weren't going to if they weren't going to do it, then this murder might have gone unsolved, and no one would have found it. And I'm really starting to notice and recognize a lot of folks that are these victims of crime who are really like standing up and defending for themselves, and making sure that their voice is being heard properly and most importantly.
Celena, how can family members support members of the LGBTQIA plus community to help them when they are in need?
One thing I try when I'm asked about these types of things is I try to be intentional about not pushing that narrative that support looks the same for every LGBTQ identified person, or to have that mindset of, I know what trans women need as a whole. Mm-hmm. That's not realistic. So I'm always mindful to remind folks that the support that someone needs can't be determined by their sexual orientation or their gender identity. So it's just so simple. And I do this myself. I just simply ask, what do you need from me, and how can I show up for you? I express my desire to support, but allow them to identify what that support looks like. And that lends to what Kelly was saying about listening to folks, allowing them to guide you in those areas that you are, it's okay to say, I don't know, I don't want to mess this up, or, so just allowing the individual to let you know how they need you to show up.
Okay. I think it's very, very important. Kelly, and then Celena, what can others outside the LGBTQIA plus community do to raise awareness and support that community?
Yeah, that's actually a really great question. Really appreciate it because you're asking. We all right now need to take action, right? Like taking steps to help the most marginalized communities, and LGBTQ plus or LGBTQIA folks are definitely that. I mean, one of the things to do, like if folks who are watching this, say you work for an organization or a business that you think we could be doing a little bit more competency trainings, it's bringing in and paying those organizations or those individuals, like the Trans Training Institute, or bringing in, like for example, individuals from WAR. They have a program specific for social workers and learning and understanding sort of what LGBTQ folks, what their experiences are, and I think another great way is by building that equity. That's essentially where I'm leading to, like, right. So when we're supporting these communities, when we're helping these communities earn from what they're doing, like I said, like their life experiences, that's helping. That's what helps uplift these folks.
Yeah, absolutely. On I am on. I support whatever Kelly said, but I also, my little list is, my go-to is, I always say, educate yourself. Don't treat straight and cisgender as the norm. Be a role model for kindness and inclusion. Take action to create safe spaces. Don't stereotype, and most importantly, speak out, speak up, and support equality. That would be my thing.
Okay. So what resources do you think should be made available to the LGBTQIA plus community?
I think like right now, we all know that the LGBTQ plus community has always had significant disparities, but during these times, it's been, significantly more and worse. We created the resource guide because we recognize a lot of the needs that folks. It was and still is critical that all the information comes from a trusted source. That it was why we started at the start of the pandemic. The office created a resource guide for the LGBTQ community, and the resources in there are specifically tailored to the needs of the LGBTQ plus community. And what we found is the needs for free food for students, individuals, families, older adults, and especially homeless. Healthcare resources, housing support is always at the very, very top of the list. And, economic and legal resources. So, I could go on and on, but those are some of the real big high level things that we've seen, in addition to, COVID testing and now information around vaccines.
Celena and then Kelly, what is something you want the world to know about the LGBTQIA community and how they have been misjudged and unseen?
You want to go first, Kelly, or?
Sure. No, go ahead. Please.
If I had to choose one right now, it would be to those that oppose the inclusion of trans athletes, and their claim that allowing trans athletes to compete will harm cisgender women. And I think it really requires a deeper dive, because this divide and conquer tactic, it gets it wrong. Excluding women who are trans hurts all women, because it was, someone said something that really made me think, this invites gender policing that could subject any woman to invasion tests of accusations of being too masculine or too good at the sport to be a real woman. Think about that.
Okay.
And I would just follow up with, because that's incredibly empowering. Honestly, like we are literally woven into every fabric of of life, meaning like we work in government, we're teachers, we're doctors, we're, you know, health workers, essential workers, owners of Fortune 500 companies, you know, police, judges, artists, you know, like bus drivers, volunteers, students, parents, siblings, children. You know, I can go on. That was just the little thing that I wrote, you know, wrote out. But it's like how, you know, why in 2021 are people still feeling that this old narrative, this old rhetoric that I mentioned earlier about being perverts or deviants or predators or criminals, like what, like, I know that was based off of fear, and that's fear of like pushing back against the norm, right? And that's exactly what Celena is talking about. Like we're talking about, again, you know, bringing up about athletes or, you know, female athletes and how does that be identified? But let's actually really have the conversation. Why aren't they being paid the same amount of money? I mean, if you really want to get down into it, you know, and we're using those as examples. I know this is, you know, we're talking about Crime Victims Week, but this is literally all of these things that are happening around the world or in social media, in the news. These are the things that affect everyone on their day-to-day basis. When someone's trying to find food, when that victim who was stabbed is still trying to find housing, and how can we get them the right resources? And so by, you know, with all of your great insightful questions of like, you know, how can allies step up? It's like, you know, it's not one of our ancestors, Gloria Caceres, always used to say, like, you know, give a seat at the table, you know, provide a seat at the table for this person. And it's like, and that's what we need. We, you know, Celena and myself and some other folks can be as loud as we possibly can be, but it really takes all of us just sort of working together, just like you, Melany, and literally just opening that door to give us the space, or give us that seat at the table to give us a space to talk about this. And that's, you know, that's literally how we do it. Like, you are an absolute wonderful ally. You're an absolute like champion of just basic human rights. And that's, I think, what this whole conversation really is all about.
Thank you so much. Celena, if someone wants to get in contact with you or your office, how would they do so?
Now that, you know what, I needed to write that down, so I'm ready. So if someone wants to reach out to us, our email address is lgbtinfo@phila.gov. The office phone number is 215-686-0330. And we are also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Philly LGBT Gov. That's Philly LGBT GOV.
Thank you so much. Kelly, please share your contact information.
Sure. My office number is 215-686-8909. Or my work cell phone is 215-216-5080. And my email is Kelly, KELLY.Burkhardt, BURKHARDT @phila.gov. That's PHILA.gov.
Thank you so much. And if you were a victim of a crime and you are of the LGBTQIA+ community, you can always contact me, Melany Nelson, the Executive Director for Northwest Victim Services, at 267-808-0350. Celena, Kelly, and I are working together to ensure all members of the LGBTQIA+ community that were affected by crime will receive services with dignity, respect, and you will receive it in a professional manner. We are not here to judge. We are here to extend love, compassion, and empathy. Celena and Kelly, I thank you so much for all the work that you are doing. I truly appreciate you. I am so excited about this great collaboration. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hate crimes of the LGBTQ community should not be tolerated. Creating laws in the United States for both gender identity and sexual orientation will be a solution that allows people to be held accountable for their actions. Having laws in every state will not allow people to get away with blatant discrimination on others. Judgment should never be made based on one's lifestyle. It is time for everyone to spread love, not hate, encouragement, not discouragement, respect, and not disrespect. My niece is Ebony Payne, and she is a member of the LGBTQIA community, and I love her no less. Ebony is the managing director for Teach for America, and she is one step away from opening her own charter school called Peace Academy Charter. Ebony is a strong, educated Black woman and a loving mother of whom I am so proud of. And congratulations on your engagement, Ebony. Accepting others' decisions is something that we have to learn how to deal with. You should accept others' decisions just as you and I want others to accept ours. Please do not hurt others with your words or with physical acts of violence. Thank you for joining me today. Peace and blessings.